So today's question is, what is second year of medical school like, and our tips? So second year, I'd probably not my favourite year. I'm allowed to say that.
I think for me, second year was probably the hardest of med school.
Was probably my least favourite year, to be honest.
The hardest year.
Yeah, it's really hard.
I think it was one of the hardest years. Yeah, I'd say second year was the hardest year for me. I think it was the hardest year to pass as well. So if you make it past second year, I feel like you're okay.
Second year was my favourite year.
I agree.
Yeah, it was one.
Not gonna lie, they were the worst exams we have done.
It's the exams. The year itself was pretty chill, I think.
Yeah.
But the exams were really hard because it was all of first year stuff and all the new stuff in second year.
You learn what goes wrong with the body rather than learning what's normal.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it's basically just that. So first year is what goes right, second year is what goes wrong.
I think second year is probably like one of my hardest years because you're introduced to pathology, and I think it was really hard to grasp that straight away, for me anyways.
And then suddenly you have to learn every disease process of the human body. They throw in some placement as well. It's like 9 to 5 lectures all day, every day, and it is absolutely relentless and quite difficult.
And also second year is really tough because it's the first year you most people move out of halls.
Yeah.
And you have to live with your friends and do everything for yourself. And maybe you have to do bills and start being an adult on top of everything you said. That's really tough.
Yeah, I think it can feel a lot second year.
Yeah.
You start dipping your toe in like the basic management of like clinical stuff, so like asthma and diabetes, like stuff
It's
like
hard
that.
to
really,
know
isn't it?
how much to know for that stuff.
There's a lot to remember in second year.
I think second year for me I found quite overwhelming because you jump from just learning normal things with the human body to suddenly learning everything that goes wrong with it, and I think it's hard to sort of know when to stop learning in second year because you can just keep going and going and going.
Yeah, and you're still pretty fresh as well. You've not had much clinical exposure, so
it's a lot of new big topics, so you feel just like overloaded in second year.
An even bigger step up in my opinion from first year. There's a lot of content and you're on placements for the first time, so although you're only there for a short time, I think it's a week at a time, but I think it's definitely sort of a big step up and it prepares you onto third year as well when you're on placement for longer periods of time.
So it feels a bit like an extension of first year in some ways, except without the excitement of meeting new people.
It's just very like information heavy. You feel like you have to have all the knowledge of first year and they're giving you all this other knowledge. And I'd say in medical school you never probably get so much of a bulk of knowledge in one go as you do in second year. I just found that quite overwhelming. I did terribly in my second year. I scraped the barrel of getting through because it's a lot.
Placement in second year, I felt a bit out of place. I don't know.
really out of place.
Yeah.
I'd say second year placement is so exciting when you first get on the wards. It's a bit nerve-wracking at first because you don't know what you're going to get and you don't know what to expect, and you don't want to be in a way, and sometimes you feel a little bit in the way, but at the same time it's so exciting that you're actually out there and you're doing for the first time what you've signed up to do.
That's when you kind of start practicing your history taking and your examinations for the first time, and you get your first clinical experience. So that's quite good. It's nice in second year. It's kind of like easing you into third year a little bit because you get a bit of placement, but it's not too intense.
It is exciting. Whilst it is a little bit overwhelming, it is exciting. It definitely breaks the 4 weeks academia up nicely. I found I was always dead excited to go back on placement after 4 weeks of lectures.
It helps you keep on top of using the learning zone and practicing your examinations because you know that in a couple of weeks you're going to be back on placement having to do it.
Did you ever go to learning zone second year? No, I didn't. I don't know. That would be a tip.
Use the learning zone.
What? You just have to build. You just got to get a sense of feeling for how to speak to doctors, how to introduce yourself properly. Yeah, introductions. Yeah. To be fair, leads on to a question. Second year, learn how to introduce yourself properly.
Yeah.
Don't be a little weasel and don't go.
Don't just
Don't be a little weasel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they tell you in med school, like it's important to introduce yourself properly. They tell you that for a reason. Like you don't want to walk up to a consultant and be like, oh, "Hi, I'm second. My name's." Mate, you say it with your chest. You're gonna say it with your chest. That's my tip. Literally, it even goes on to like Oskies as well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
You're more worried than they are. Like they couldn't care less. Like they're going about their day.
Yeah.
If you just act confident, even if you don't feel confident, act it,
Yeah.
and you'll get through.
And it's literally like once you get to like third year, fourth year, and you walk into like a surgical operating room, and they do the huddle, and then they do that little introduce yourself. Everyone they go around in the circle being like, oh, what's your name and what's your role? If you just like cowered in the corner, like, oh, my name's this, like, it just don't work. You've got to be like my Joe med student. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just gotta say it with your chest for sure.
And yeah, it was the first time we were introduced to placements. And I don't know about you, but when I would ever come home, I'd just go straight to sleep.
Yeah,
it just used to be so exhausting. Like now we do that every day, but it was the first like shock to the system that you have to like be in. And like being on placement, you're on your feet a lot. You're not like in a lecture all sat down. I just wasn't used to that. So yeah, I just come home, go straight to sleep, and then it was like placement the next day. But it was enjoyable being on the wards. It was a first experience.
Placement weeks kill. Like your body is just never going to be used to doing like 1 week.
Oh gosh.
1 week of placement just does not suit. You feel awful.
It's so weird how bad we found it.
Like it does get better in third year. Like when I was in second year, I was like, there's no way I could do placement every day. But like I feel like your body
you do get used
to waking up.
But that's when you feel like you're the burden the most, because you really don't know much. And like rightly so, as a second year you shouldn't know like so much. You only know like the bare minimum. So when you are talking to like consultants, it's just a bit nerve-wracking because you really don't know much and they know you don't know much.
But I mean, getting a question right in hospital in second year is a feeling like no other.
That is
you're a big
dirty.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And I feel like they do make comments like, what are you doing on here? Like, it's too early for you. But I think it's nice that we get the experience quite early. And yeah, I don't think I would change it. I don't think I'd change it.
Fortunately, my second year was cut slightly short in terms of placement due to the COVID pandemic.
We, at about March, had to just go home and things got really weird really quickly, so we didn't get the full of second year, but the bit that we did have, it was really interesting. You go from in first year learning everything normally to learning everything that could go wrong, really, which is a lot, but it's really interesting.
In terms of tips to deal with that, I'd say just finding a way to organise your learning in sort of a systematic way, if I can say that. For me, I quite like things boxed. So I used tables just to put the pathologies in, which allowed me to see conditions sort of isolated, to help me try and learn some of the common things to pick out with each condition that hopefully I'd then be able to translate into questions when they were put in cases. But yeah, I feel like that'd be my top tip for second year, is just try and find a way that works with your learning to organise your notes in the most efficient way.
Fortunately, Rob here created a little study group for us that I kind of leached onto the back of, and everyone else did some nice study sessions, and I just took it all in. Like, use each other, ask each other questions, like just like repetitive, and like again ask other people in other years to like realise what you need to actually know.
Like, it actually feels like you're starting to like do the proper medicine, because first year just felt like we were doing like biology.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, to be fair, the content of second year is pretty hard. But it's a great year.
In terms of like socially, I think second year's, in a way, it's kind of similar to first year. Like, you still go out.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We still went out. We still did a lot of things. Obviously, your exams count, don't they, towards your things. That's, I guess, quite different. So a little bit more pressure there.
Yeah.
But no, it was pretty much the same.
Yeah, we still went out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everyone I think I speak to finds second year like a big step up from first year, because first year is like your just basic sciences and stuff. Second year is your first year of medicine, hardcore stuff.
The amount of new words I think we learned in second year was more than we'll ever learn in our lives, and pages of notes.
Yeah. But again, like first year, have fun because you can there's still lots of time in second year to enjoy yourself. And you're not full clinical yet, so go and have fun.
And I think things start settling into place second year. You find your friendship group, you know, kind of find your groove. So yeah, that's nice.
And it is nice to be out of uni halls and sort of live with your mates as well. It's quite a different vibe, and it's just fun to sort of have your own house. I think it's quite nice.
I would say second year is the hardest year because there's so much new that you're learning. So like really focus on it and really try and work hard on what you learn. Try and learn it well.
One tip for second year is stay on top of your work. There is a lot to cover and you don't want to cram at the end. Yeah, you know, that doesn't work for second year, there's just too much. So be consistent throughout the year, do little bits from the start, and then it'll get a lot easier at the end if you've done that, I think.
Yeah. Second year you have to box off, in my opinion. Tick it off and then on to the good stuff.
My one tip is become friends with someone that's formed a revision group.
My tip would be, just before you go into placement, say you know you're going to be on endocrine that week or cardiology, just spend that weekend pre-reading for it.
That's a good tip to be there.
It makes such a difference.
It does.
Because when the doctors ask you a proper basic question and you get it wrong, straight away they're like, oh man, who's this guy I'm stuck with for a week. But then if you get it right and you show some interest, they'll properly take you under their wings. So a bit of pre-reading.
Yeah. I would say get a good textbook that covers everything.
Yeah.
And use that and try not to get too many different resources and just stick to a solid textbook.
Yeah.
And then if you have clinical placement like we did, like make the most of that as well.
Definitely. I'm trying, second year. I don't know if I have any major tips for it. I think
just survive.
I think in terms of tips for second year, definitely exam questions. Like definitely doing the most, because it's just about repetition, recall, and that's I think the best thing to do for second year.
My one tip for second year is to maybe, like, if you haven't got involved in any societies yet, or you think, oh, like it's not really for me, just try it. You never know. And like a lot of those societies, once you've been in there for second year, when you get to third year, you can start having maybe a role on the committee, or even in second year, it doesn't actually matter, but it's really fun. Like a lot of them are really fun and a good experience, so I recommend doing that.
My one tip for second year would be to make the most of the placement that you have. It's not too intense, it's a nice way to kind of start seeing patients, because the first time you do it is probably quite terrifying when a doctor tells you to go and take history from a patient. Do it as much as you can, speak to and examine as many patients as you can, and it will get easier.
My tip would be to stay on top of work and do things as you go along.
So yeah, definitely challenging in terms of time management, organisation. You know, you need to step up your game a little bit more, I think. Tough, but when you finish it, you'll feel very accomplished.
And if